Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of the Listen to Keith Harkin podcast. Today on the podcast, I have an absolutely super talented musician to talk about life and the good times before COVID. Before we get there, though, I want to do a bit of housekeeping. I want to talk about a few projects that I have on the go. I want to talk about our vacation wedding venue studio in Ireland that will be open for business once all this nonsense is over, and I'd love for you to check it out. It's called Glack House, Glackhouse, or if you're American, Glack House. Please check it out. We are a weddings and events space in Donegal in Ireland. Also, I would love it if you good people checked out my Patreon page. It's my Patreon community that helps me fund all this free content for all you beautiful people out there. Without you guys, I couldn't make all this happen. Also, once you join my Patreon family, you get to check out all the cool free content that you can only get from being a member of Patreon. There's unreleased songs, there's cooking demos, there's a load of different videos and Q&As on there that you can only get on my Patreon page. So please check it out, www.patreon.com/listen to Keith Harkin. Okay, today on the show, a super uber talented piano player, singer, songwriter, producer, New Yorker. That's my worst New York accent. I don't know why I done that. I just insulted every New Yorker by doing that. Before I do anything else stupid, I want to introduce my next guest, the one and only Peter Cincotti.
All right, awesome. How you been? Yeah, cheers. Solid, cheers. Actually, it's a little early over here for booze. I just had breakfast.
Are you a late riser?
Unfortunately, today I did really good. I got up at 9:30, which is unbelievable. It's unheard of for me. So it was a victory. But no, generally I'm up late and I sleep late, and it's a bad cycle. But I'm trying to break it.
Yeah, but that's the first of being a musician.
That's part of it. I mean, you get trained into it, and then your body just gets used to it. Plus, when you write, as I'm sure you know, at least my hours are, ideas come late. Ideas when everybody's sleeping. It's just that when you don't want them to come, they're there.
I mean, you write your best songs when your head hits the pillow and you're trying to go to bed.
Exactly.
And you're just like, fucking, I'll remember that. Just remember it. Remember that melody. Remember that line. Now you'll remember that, and then you never remember.
And then you don't. No, I have all kinds of notes and recorders. I have a little recorder. I have my phone. I have all different, to-dos that have lyrics. I want to be like. Go ahead.
That'll change whenever or if ever you have a kid. I mean, I have a 2-year-old now, and
I was just gonna ask that. Yeah.
Yeah, his wake up time every morning is 5:30.
Oh my God.
And I've got the body clock of a musician because I've been one my whole life, and it's a fucking nightmare.
Oh my God, 5:30. Yeah. So how has that changed your writing?
Do you know what?
Are you like Randy Newman? I want to be like Randy Newman. He gets up from like 10 to 4, he writes a song, and then,
it's funny, since I left LA, which has been like 2 years ago now, nearly 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, I don't hustle as much at writing, but I feel like I write just as much, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't schedule it. I don't schedule co-writes. I don't go, I'm taking those 2 days to write. Like, when you're working completely on your own schedule, like, I don't write really when I'm on tour. I might write when I'm driving late at night in the van and the boys are asleep and it's my turn to drive. I might just like hold the phone up and sing in there or whatever.
Interesting.
I've been writing quite a bit when I'm with the kiddo here. Whenever he falls asleep or when he's around too, it's a whole new outlook on life, kind of.
Wow, and it's probably a whole different system. Wow, but at least it's nice to hear that it hasn't inhibited your creativity in any way. Or were you a night owl before? Were you like that before?
Oh man, like when I was on tour, from I was old enough to go out, I've been running in pubs and clubs. In Ireland, you go out to the bar when you're a kid, and I went from one crowd of friends, and then when they you know, were too tired to go out on like a Wednesday, I went to my Wednesday crew of friends. I was the guy that had all the friends and just kept going out and like partying and playing gigs every other night, you know, being at the parties every night, playing music. And then when I joined Celtic Thunder, it was the same deal. I was the last guy awake. They used to hate me partying because I was like, let's
wow. And when
did
it stop? Did it stop right up until you had a kid, or did it start to fade before then?
I mean, I don't know. I'm still really good at it. I just don't do it anymore. You know? What about you? Are you the same? Like, are you still a complete nightbird?
Well, you know, this pandemic threw everything kind of for a loop in a way. So I'm still a night person. I like sitting up. I like the after hours, even though we're like confined. So it's not like I'm suddenly going to bed at 10 because I have no club to go at or venue to play. It's not that, just my nature. But yeah, I was always, you know, the road is its own animal. So that's a different schedule. That's a bubble. You know, you do your show. I often eat dinner after the show, you know, usually drink quite a bit and then sleep, and depending on whether you're on a bus or whatever. But so that's its own system. And then here in New York, you know, I'm usually out. Like I'm usually out several nights a week. Whether it's to see music or to see friends, or, you know, so it's really a lifestyle thing. But, you know, I don't know. I'm always envious of the people who just, you know, rise with the sun.
Yeah.
And they're done with everything they have to do by noon.
Yeah.
And they already got a workout in. So, you know, it's an endless struggle, Keith.
I think too, though, but I think, you know, being a musician, being a writer, you know, it's something that, luckily for people who write, it's something that doesn't turn off, whether you like it or not. And I think that's sort of
exactly.
me as well. That applies to everything I do. Like, you know, I love creating businesses and ideas that, you know, like companies. I've like 2 businesses of my own, and I've created ones in the past that have been successful and stuff like that. So for me, that never turns off. Like, you know, it just does. But some people can just turn it off. Like my wife, Kelsey. Dude, when we go to bed at nighttime, she'll climb on the bed before me. And by the time I get my shirt off, Kelsey's like,
amazing.
I'm like fishtailing in bed. I'm like breathing over her face going, how the fuck did you do that? I'll be like lying there for like 2 hours worried about something that I told my 2nd grade teacher when I was 5 years old. You know what I mean?
That's great. That's great. No, I'm very similar, and my girlfriend's the same way as well. Like when she gets in bed, I'm so envious. I have a winding down process that just takes at least 3 to 4 hours. It's ridiculous.
I know. Like
it's ridiculous.
And I've some reason I've found the older I've gotten, the more I care about certain shit. Like back in the day, if someone or a friend of me or something, like, you know, we had a fallout about something stupid, you know, next day you're just like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. And then
right,
you fix it later on. But now if I like have anything at all, the smallest, the thing that I seem to like, just if any of my friends or family might say the wrong, I'll dwell on it for weeks and not do anything about it. Just keep dwelling on it.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Yes, that's funny.
Where's your girlfriend from? Is she a New Yorker?
No, she's not at all. She's from Istanbul.
Ah, cool.
She's from Turkey, yeah. But before we go there, what you said is funny because they say that happens with age, that, you know, you get older and older. It's funny how it changes. What are you now, 32?
I'm 35 in June.
35, right. Yeah. So we're in the same generation here, but yeah, that's funny. We'll see. They say these are good years.
I don't know, man. I had like just this week, like I was never a gym person, but I've surfed my whole life and I've always skated and surfed, you know, and I didn't really like the lockdown happened in Ireland last year. And when the lockdown happened in Ireland, you weren't allowed to leave within 5 kilometers of your house, and they closed down the beaches, so you couldn't surf and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. And I just grew a huge set of tits on my body that I didn't have prior to that. And then we done a runner for Portugal in October, and they have these things here called natas. Have you ever heard of a nata? Pastel de nata?
No, what is that?
It's like It's basically like a wee piece of pastry, like a tartlet, and they fill them with like this custard, and they bake them, and the top of them's like burnt like a creme brulee.
So
And
that's
like,
what gave you your newfound breasts.
Bro, I tried to count today. I reckon I was eating at least 3 a day from the middle of October.
Oh my God.
Until like 5 days ago. And I was like, I gotta rein this in. This is a bad habit.
Oh, I mean, me too. This lockdown was not, I mean, I put on several unwanted pounds, and it's just, you know, that's what's there to look forward to. I love to cook. I love to drink, and I like to cook and drink. And, you know, it's like, that's what you look forward to. There's nothing else to do. So yeah, forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. That's the Italian American. Do you know what? I think I've never done the ancestry thing, but I'm pretty sure just by looking at photographs that my family were Italian. Like
really?
My grandmother's grandmother and her father, there's photographs of those guys, and it just looks like they come from the old country. You know, like the photographs of them, they're definitely not Irish, 100% not Irish.
Oh, interesting. So you might be. You should look into that.
I mean, our family definitely has the emotion of the Italians for sure. Like when we go at it, our family is very like, it's like something out of Goodfellas. You know, the whole kitchen starts screaming at one another.
Believe me, that.
And then 2 seconds later, everybody hugs and kisses and makes
exactly. Other people call it screaming. We call it talking. You know, it's like, I've been around people. It's like, well, what are you talking about? Nobody was angry. That's just the way we talk. Nobody's angry.
Yeah.
You know, unless you understand it, you think we're all screaming at each other.
Yeah, our house is exactly the same. My poor grandmother, who's sick right now, she got Alzheimer's a few years ago, and we had to put her in home in January last year. So we haven't even really been able to go see her or anything because of COVID. You know,
what a nightmare.
It's funny. Like she was like, you know, I always say to my mom, I'm like, I'm pretty sure we have to be like Italian family because, like, you know, I always joke around when Kelsey, my wife, asks me, she says, what's your heritage? I'm like, I'm Irish, 100% Irish. There's nobody else. That's it. That's just the way it is. But like when she's not here, I tell people I'm pretty sure that, because my grandmother, she's like the oracle of the house. You know, whatever the grandmother says, that's it. That's the end of every discussion and argument. And she's 100%.
The matriarch. What's Kelsey? Is also
Kelsey's American.
100%? She's American.
Yeah. Kelsey is born in California, in San Diego, and then she spent most of her life in Phoenix, in Arizona.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I met Kelsey in Los Angeles.
I was just gonna ask, so you met her in over here? Wow.
Yeah, she was working for a friend of mine at a clothing line. My friend had a clothing line at her house.
Oh.
And dude, it was just all these beautiful models there every day. And I was like 24, 25 and single, living in LA at the time. And I would just go around every day being like, need a hand, do anything? Or like, you know what? Or my friend, like, you're a creep, get out. And then Kelsey was her intern. And she was working there. And I tortured Kelsey for nearly the guts of 6 months. And then
my God,
just her and I there, and she was like, she just blew me off all the time. You know, women are so smart, men are so dumb. We're just like dumb dogs.
That's for sure.
And then eventually one day she said, "What do you do?" And I says, "I play music." You know, I was like, "Google, stick it on the YouTube there, Keith Harkin." And she goes, "Who's Keith Harkin?" And I was like, "Jesus, she doesn't even know my name."
Well, you got her. Look at you now.
Joke's on her.
Look at you now. Joke's on her.
So how long have you and your pair been together?
3 years.
Cool.
Going on, 3 years. And we met, we met in Istanbul when I was on tour there years ago, and we stayed in touch through the years. So yeah, it was a funny story.
So did you have tour? Like I've been talking to a lot of musicians on the podcast, and did you have shows last year? Obviously, did you have big tours booked? Did you have?
Yeah, I mean, we had a bunch of things done on the calendar, and it's all postponed. Even the stuff this year, I just got to notice that our dates in June are moved, June 2021, which were moved from last June are now 2022. I mean, it's insane. And also the concept of time during this whole thing is really just been constantly changing. I mean, it's almost moving. At times it's glacial, and at other times it's just like, where the hell did the year go? But I've been trying to, work on music and write songs. I'm working on my next album, so at least I can do a lot of that stuff. So at least when this thing is over, maybe we come out and at least we have some new material as opposed to nothing. But yeah, all the touring is completely unknown still on my end.
Crazy,
what about you?
Dude, same thing. I was on tour in March.
Right.
I played in Boston. I only got 6 shows into like a 35 city run. And at the tour actually started out in the East Coast, so I had to pay my roadie and my van and my 2 guys to
oh my god,
all the gear from. I keep my stuff out in the West, all the gear across. We done like fucking 6 shows, and then I had to call it and pay for everything to get all back to the West Coast. And I was like,
oh my
give me a
god.
break. And then I was supposed to be out for 5 weeks in June, and then I was supposed to be out like until Christmas for like 2 months. I was supposed to be in Australia this month, and that's.
Oh my god.
I can't. I don't know. What's up?
Is it rescheduled, or is it just indefinitely postponed right now?
They were talking about rescheduling it, and I kind of guessed. I don't know. I just had an inkling that it wasn't going to be doable.
Of course.
I've said this a few times in the podcast. My sister, she was actually on do you remember the boat that was at the very start of the pandemic, the Diamond Princess, the big cruise ship?
Yes.
She's a piano player as well, and she sings, and so she was on there. She had her own show on the ship, and so she.
My god,
dude!
So she was on that boat.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Oh my god!
She was stuck on that boat. So my family and I and my mom and dad, our heads were like done in. This is before it all became really serious and before everybody really knew what it was. It hadn't hit the UK yet. It definitely wasn't really in America yet. So much so that I was sort of in the depths of it so much that I was contemplating not even doing the tour in March. I had a feeling. I was like, I have a feeling this shit's going to get really. When you see things in TV, these things have happened before in our lifetime, and it's never. But when a member of your family's in it, and you're
forget it. I
was swam all the way to the boat over.
I could, of course. So I
when they were talking about rescheduling dates, I just said nah. I mean, I'm glad, because again, this year, I can't see it happening this year. So we're looking to book a tour now for March 2022. But who knows?
Wow. I mean, that sounds about right. But yeah, who knows? All these different assessments, these different variants, all the crap with the vaccine. I mean, I'm no expert, but I don't think anyone is. I don't think anyone knows anything. So we'll see how it unfolds.
I'm hoping by the end, like maybe they mightn't have a cure for it, but maybe they might have like a test or something that they could just have at a venue or an airplane, and you literally just wipe your cheek with a sweat and it turns a certain.
Yeah.
That's kind of where my brain's at. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be fixed, but I'm hoping there's a way around it.
Yeah. No, exactly.
But,
I don't know. It's going to definitely expedite the inevitable. If technology was on a fast course as it was, this is going to just, make it exponential. And it's, you're going to have a chip on up your ass, if you don't mind my French. And that's it. You're going to be red, you're going to be blue, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we already have a chip up our ass. It's this.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just not up our ass, but it's in our hand. It's actually closer to your mouth.
It's getting closer. It's getting closer. I mean?
Like people keep saying, like, oh, AI, I don't think I'm never going to let them chip me. I'm like, dude, they're already chipping us.
You're already a cyborg or whatever it is.
We're all groomed, and they like talking into this thing all day, and like.
There's no question about it. You ever have like the strangest thing is when you have Alexa or one of those devices answer a question that you didn't ask. I mean, they're always listening. But I didn't want to play with the house. I decided no against that. Yeah, I'm not into it either. I was the last person that in my circle that I remember resisting even getting a cell phone. I mean, I didn't have a cell phone till I was in college. And I'm grateful for those. Yeah, I held out. I just held out. I didn't have a cell phone till I was in college. And then that was it. You know, but I tried. But I'm glad I had those years. I'm glad I had those years without, you know, I'm going to meet you at 2:00 and you got to meet somebody at 2:00. I'm glad I had a childhood that didn't involve, you know, staring at a screen all day. So
sure, I actually feel sorry for kids now who are younger on social media. At least, you know, we grew up with it. We knew what it was like beforehand, and
right.
we also realize that it's bullshit. You know, it really is. The majority of it
right.
is nonsense. Like, but a lot of these kids, you know, and understandably too, because a lot of people do so well at social media, and a lot of people make a living off it. So kids are watching it, going like, "I want to like this is real." Like, so these people just twerk, and then that's it. That's all you got to do is twerk and put it on.
I know. And by the way, this is great. This, as we trash social media, you look great. You got a crystal clear reception here on this Skype or whatever the hell.
I know.
You know, that's the thing though. There has to be a difference. There has to, but that's different though. You know, like the kids watching it, being addicted to it, also seeing the way, you know, all they compare themselves with others, and social media and all the fake perception that everyone's life is amazing. That's different than connecting with somebody. Like, you know, musically, I'm grateful for some of the technology. You know, without the social media, we wouldn't be talking right now.
Yeah.
So I guess you have to, like everything else, you have to use it, you know, in moderation or with purpose.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I am very grateful for social media, 100%. Like it sells tickets for me. It gets my music out there. It actually, like, again, if you know how to use it and you follow things that you actually like I find bands all the time, or I find certain people doing weird things and instruments, and I'm like, fuck, this is great. I never would find that watching the television.
I know.
You know what I mean? So in that sense, it is good. But then again, you know, I do find myself sitting on Instagram or Twitter, just reading. Like, somebody might tweet something about an article about dog grooming in Bolivia, and I'll literally sit there and read the fucking comments of people, like, you know, their ideas on it too. I'm like, yeah, they've got a point there.
That's so funny. No, I get
it. Later, you're like,
stuff.
What am I? That was an hour of my life I'm never getting back. You know?
Exactly. There's all kinds of those. What are those satisfying videos where you watch somebody like peel off, you know, the cellophane off of something, and it's like 2 hours gone by, and I'm like, what the hell? Or like some metal factory chiseling a metal in Indonesia. Like,
yeah. I'm the same.
Unbelievable. Just watching that for hours. And it's better than the news. It's better than watching the news.
I mean, I call the news the bad news. It's never the good news. Like, there's the bad
that's
news.
True.
Do you know what I mean?
That's so true. There's a few, speaking of social media, there's a few accounts that focus on good news. There's something that I think it's that actor, is it John Krasinski or something, started something called the Good News movement or something like that. And it's only good, positive stories. There's a few pages like that. But yeah, nobody cares. They much prefer the disasters.
Nobody cares. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just realized I have no fucking charger plugged into my laptop. What am I doing? Oh, shit. Give me 2 seconds, Peter.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll pour more drink here.
What are you drinking?
I'm actually having tea.
Oh, nice.
I'm having it. There's this place I started ordering tea from in where the hell is it? The middle of the country. It's one of my pandemic hobbies, finding new things to take up. But yeah, I'm drinking tea.
You ever drink Irish tea?
What's in it?
Irish tea just tastes like tar. Kelsey says it tastes like dirt. She's like, it tastes like
dirt.
Oh,
really? Oh, interesting. Oh, funny. I'm not familiar. I thought you meant with a little whiskey in it as Irish tea. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's I call that mother's milk. But
what's your favorite liquor? What kind of drinker are you? You see, you got wine over there.
It depends what kind of mood I'm in. You know, it depends. Like if I'm going to rage, whiskey all day.
Whiskey.
You know,
Yeah.
like Jameson or Bushmills, Irish whiskey.
Yeah, I like Irish whiskey.
And it's not because it's Irish. I'm not a massive fan of bourbons and stuff like that unless they're in a cocktail, unless it's a really good bourbon.
Right.
You know? Or Scotch. I'm not a real fan of Scotch either. It's too dry for me. But like Irish whiskey, sends you crazy.
Funny.
Or tequila. Like I like tequila. If I'm out, like, you know, at a nice bar with good tequila, I'll have a good tequila on the rocks with lime or lemon or just lemon.
I love tequila. I love it all. I love it also, though, very much mood dependent, you know.
Oh, for
sure. No, there's not much I don't like. I like gin. You drink gin or no?
Yeah. I actually made a big boo-boo on Christmas Eve. I don't normally drink gin. And for some reason, I was like, oh, gin and tonic, Christmas Eve, it sounds perfect. So I bought a bottle of, what did I buy? I can't even remember what I bought. And Kelsey's mum was here and our kid, Waylon, who's 2 years old. And I went on the Escape call with one of my best friends from home. And he's a gin drinker, man. And I mean, the two of us ended up fucking really hammered. Like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like
gin is dangerous. I mean, they're all
it's
gin
so
is
good up until a point, and then it just starts going downhill.
They say gin makes you sin, or whatever they say. They say when Sinatra drank gin, he got nasty. I don't know if he was nasty otherwise, but yeah, I've heard that story. That like everyone around him didn't want him to start doing gin. But yeah, gin is its own thing, but it's great. What could I tell you? I like tequila too, bourbon, vodka. But yeah, it's like I like it while I cook. I like a drink before dinner. I like wine with dinner, maybe something after. Like I said, this pandemic, it just went over. Go ahead.
It's funny. I didn't drink much at all over the pandemic. Like it's weird. It's like I realize how much I'm a social drinker. Like I love drinking. I only like I'll at most like I wouldn't have had a glass of wine unless I'm sitting talking to someone right now.
Oh, funny. I'm a social drinker too, but I'm also a non-social drinker. That's funny.
Like we have a bar out the back at our place in Ireland. I have a wedding. We own a wedding venue and event space in Ireland. And
you mentioned that. That's so cool.
Yeah. And it's like an old 200-year-old sort of stone farm. And we turned one of the barns into a full Irish pub with a full bar and like big open fire. And it's awesome. They have a party in with your friends or just whatever for people to come and enjoy. But like we have, I actually had a Guinness keg in the bar before the pandemic started. And all my friends would text me, they're like, you lucky fucker, like you're out there. I'm like, dude, like it's like, do you think I'm going out there to sit in the bar on my own and light the fire and have a Guinness and sit at the bar and talk to myself? I mean, like,
yeah, exactly.
It's great having it, but I only have it. I enjoy going out there with
What about forget about the friend, then what about for musical purposes, creative purposes? Do you ever find that a drink or two, you're not alone? You're with the song. That's social drinking.
Yeah. Like if I'm in the studio out the back of our place and I'm sitting at the piano or the guitar or whatever, I always have like a bottle of whiskey lying around somewhere. I'll just sit and sip a whiskey whilst I play.
Yeah, no, it does something. I hate to sound like a proponent of alcohol, but within reason, it does do something, at least during the writing process. And again, there's like a line on that too, because, but there's a sweet spot where it takes the editor out of the room. It takes some of those inhibitions away.
Yeah.
Making my last record, I remember there were so many pianos. So I was alone. I went to this house in Jersey that I grew up going to. And I moved my piano there out of the city, and I really learned how to produce. At least it was my first record that I produced, and it kind of engineered a lot of too. So I took 3 years to make it. And during that process, if I were to okay, I need a piano solo on this track, there was something about being alone without having, I guess, the intensity of an old fashioned studio with 10 people in the room and an engineer. There was something about being alone and having a drink or two affected the piano solos in a really, I thought, a beneficial way, because it makes it less precious. You have more control, And there are solos on that last record that just wouldn't have been there without that, lubricant, let's say.
100%. Like
Yeah.
100. Like we're talking like alcohol here, like we're alcoholics, but like,
I know that's horrible.
It's whatever, man. Everybody likes to drink, but at the end of the day, maybe not younger musicians now, but growing up in the music scene, it was a big part of, like, it's the reality of it. A big part of being a musician was you're always at venues and clubs and bars, and normally before a gig you've nothing to do, normally after a gig,
Yeah.
like it's inevitable. It's an inevitable thing. Like, but my band, I don't know if I've ever actually told them this, but if I feel my band getting super tense, like some days in the van or if we're on tour,
Yeah.
I'll make sure that night will be the drunkest gig of their entire trip. Like I will bring a bottle on stage of whiskey, and I'll have trays of shots coming onto the stage like every second song, and by the end of it, so the thing is, I find when I do that, the next day everybody's too hungover to be angry, and that phase of like tiredness and anger is gone, and they're back to normal again.
Yes, no, it breaks the ice of it. There's two thoughts. Well, once I left a little mini bottle of I think it was Johnny Black on my drummer's snare drum in between takes in the studio here in New York. But yeah, it does. There are those. It's funny. Those musicians. Some musicians can just go into a studio and the red light the recording light just doesn't affect them, and they're brilliant, equally in and out of the studio. And then there's other people that just get in their own head, and they're brilliant live. Let's say, if they, they're loose, they know, no, but it's not forever. It's a show. But when certain guys get in a studio, I found that's why there's studio guys. That's why there's live guys. Not everybody can do both. And sometimes the bridge is made of whiskey. Sometimes it's a river.
Like I've found myself over the last year sitting watching footage of myself and my band playing together, and it's just because the main thing that I've learned so much from this whole pandemic is that I love playing music, and I kind of was getting jaded for a while, and forgetting the reason why I started playing music and why I did it, and then because when you're touring non-stop, man, like I've been on the grind now for a long time, touring many shows a year, and there hasn't been any downtime at all.
Right.
This year has made me realize like how much I miss it, and I really can't wait to get back on stage again.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. It's also a good time for you now that you have a child. Like I said, when we first connected, that at least you have a downtime here that you might not have normally had to be there. But yeah, I'm sure you miss the road too. I do too. I miss a lot of things. I had to do I did one private show that forced me to leave, and I went on a plane, and I just can't even tell you how much I enjoyed the drive to JFK. I mean, just things I normally complain about, whatever, the security line, whatever the hell I had to do. It was a delight because you miss it,
Yeah. So hopefully
we'll come out of this.
What's the story of New York? Is everything shut down in New York, or is it opened, or?
It's not, right, it's not New York, that's for sure. It's definitely changing. A lot of places are shut. A lot of small businesses, like classic, iconic places, are unfortunately closed, which is just depressing. Places that have been there for 80 years, from music clubs to, I just did something the other night to save Birdland. They had a campaign, one of the most legendary jazz clubs on 44th Street. They had a campaign called Save Birdland, and they had all these different people be a part of it, and I was one of them. So hopefully they'll survive. But so many places, little mom and pops, some of my favorite food places, little bars, so they're gone. And then other places, so you just walk down the street, you see a lot of that. You see a lot of for rent. There's more crazy crimes happening, random things. There's also a coming together. The people are coming together. There's a whole, New York group of people that stayed here. There's a lot of people who left, and, you know, either went to the Hamptons and, you know, the wealthier types waiting for the city to recover, and then they'll come back. And then there's people who just left. They're like, screw this. This is not New York. And then there's people like me who's here, who just stayed. I was here through the whole pandemic. I wrote a song for New York that I told you, I think I sent it to you. And we shot it right kind of at the beginning of the pandemic. And we did a video, and it was right when people were starting to wear masks. And I'm glad we were able to get it out. It was before one of the first lockdowns. But no, it's changing. It's going to be a new York. I don't know what it will be, but it will be a new New York. I think the core of it will be the same. You know, there's a certain spirit to this city that is unique to this place that I think as long as that remains, we're going to be okay. It's not going anywhere. But yeah, a lot is changing.
I checked out your song today, man. It's great. Brilliant tune.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Did you do that? Was it a charity thing or anything like that, or did you just release it?
No, not at all. That was one of the 3 a.m. nagging ideas that keeps us up. And I woke up that next day really thinking, I actually had that. It was a song that I hadn't released, that had an earlier version of it.
Right.
That I tried out through the years, but it kind of just sat there in the trunk. And then during the pandemic, I'm like, I got to finish that song and, you know, write it, you know, to the moment here. And I got up and we did it. And it ended up being a really cool project, and different New York organizations kind of grabbed onto it. So I'm in touch with them now. A lot of people here trying to rebuild New York, save institutions, figure out ways to raise money, and keep the arts alive, which they think really drives the city, the arts and culture. But yeah, it's crazy. But that came out of this. Yeah, that came out of this year.
Yeah, man, it was a great tune. It actually inspired me. That today I actually sat down and listened to it, and I was like, fuck, I started thinking about my hometown, and like I was like, oh, I wrote a song about my hometown. My hometown sadly hasn't got the same glitz and glamour as fucking New York, baby.
Oh,
tell you that much.
That's funny. Well, on the other hand, it's, you know, not how many songs are written. What's the name of your hometown?
Derry.
All right. Well,
Derry,
I don't know any
there
songs.
actually is a lot of songs written about, like,
there are?
Sunday Bloody Sunday's written about my hometown.
Oh, that's cool.
There's lots of, like, Derry's got lots of history, you know, through the troubles of Northern Ireland and stuff like that. There's a mountain of songs
interesting.
wrote about it, you know. Actually,
well, there's a mountain of New York ones too. You could add to it.
Yeah, I mean, New York's a fantastic. I mean, I didn't appreciate New York. Not that I didn't think that was when I was younger, and like whenever I first started touring with Celtic Thunder, and they would like send us to New York. They do like, what was the name of the hotel? The Athenia Hotels.
Okay, I think so.
Like an old school hotel opposite Madison Square Garden. They were huge, like almost like big apartments, these hotels.
Yeah, okay.
And like they would send us there for like a month, and whatever amount of money we were getting paid, it was more than any of us ever got paid before in our life. And like, you know,
yeah,
thinking back then, we only had like 1 or 2 promo things a day to do. Like, so you'd had like maybe a half hour of television a day. And then they were like, just be back in the lobby for 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I'd have just been like, I was 21. I was like, see you later.
Wow. So you were here for long chunks of time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say like a lot of the time, before I even lived in America, I was probably there for as much as what I was back in Ireland. You know, I've basically been in America since 2007, give or take.
Wow.
Yeah, because like if we weren't on tour, we'd have been definitely going out and doing like all the PBS stations. Like we'd on every PBS station in America a few times a year. Like so much so that it was almost like a tour. We had a tour bus, and they drove around every station. You know,
yeah,
you had to perform every night on them and do the talk and do the. Have you ever done PBS?
You know, I almost did, but I never did. I would love to. We almost made a deal with them on one project, but no, it never happened.
The show of your kind of music and your persona, like if you like that's like something PBS, I would presume.
Yeah, I think maybe like on this, I'm working on this my next record, which is kind of around the piano. It's based on piano players that have influenced me. So it's like anyone from Scott Joplin to Billy Joel. Like I want to take all these different piano playing influences and combine them try to combine them in a different way. with different arrangements, and I'll write a few original songs for it too. But it's a clear theme. It's about the piano, so maybe that could be something that could work with a PBS with some other guests, kind of built around this instrument.
I mean,
who knows?
It's a lot of work doing the whole PBS grind thing. You know, it really is.
How was that? Did you do it? Did you do it just with Celtic Thunder?
Yeah, I actually filmed a show with my old record company, dude. We ended up shooting. Check this out. We decided to do a live album. First of all, we decided to do like some cool footage of me playing music with my guitar player for content. You know how it goes, for Instagram or YouTube or whatever. And then along the lines, the record company or one of the executives of the record company decided, because I had a big foot in the door with PBS and a lot of stations knew who I was, not only in person, but through Celtic Thunder, obviously.
Right.
He decided, he was like, let's make this into a DVD. I was like, sweet, that's perfect. Like, I can pitch this. It's no problem. So we ended up filming. There was a huge crew shooting this thing. I don't know how many cameras, 6 or 7 cameras. We rented this big old church in Venice Beach and shot it with a live audience. And it looks, I have the thing on my laptop. It looks really cool.
Wow, that sounds cool.
We done it like an old school show. Like, it was no like overdubs or nothing like that. It was me and my guitar player, whom at the time we were doing 100 shows a year and we were glued to each other. So it was really easy for us to do it. And we done one take on every song and that was it.
Right.
But then when the release came to come out, something got blurred. You know, typical, you've probably like myself, you've been through a few record companies. And about a week before the release, like I was ready to pitch it to like 2 people in PBS who I knew in different states, and the publishing that they had gotten for the release of the DVD only permitted 1,000 hard copies of the DVD. And I was like, whoa, like this was like a week before release, and somebody along, basically they were all for it, and then they didn't realize you had to spend money. They'd never done a DVD before. They'd never done a show before. None of them had ever dealt with PBS before. By that stage, I had done, I don't know, like 12 PBS specials, and I was a big part of all of them, and I realized how and they basically made a mess of the publishing, and the publishing that they got didn't let them do anything with the DVD apart from sell physical copies from their website. I couldn't even put it up, for download. I couldn't put it up on iTunes. I couldn't even put it for a streaming thing. It was useless. I was like, I'll have to sell DVD players along with this DVD at my fucking merch. I was like, nobody's going to buy this. And then they were like, well, we're releasing it like this. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I'm not. I'd rather not do it at all in the hope it's going to get done right. And then they were like, they put the gun to my head and I just said, pull the trigger. I was like, I'm not fucking doing it. So it's still sitting on a hard drive. That was 3 years ago. And it must have like a couple of $100,000 spent on it.
Oh my God, what a nightmare. I have a similar story, but it was different circumstances and God knows different red tape. And I'm not sure the reasons, but there is a DVD that I put out that exists called Live in New York from a long time ago. It was around my second record, and we shot it in East Harlem here in New York, where my family's from. My dad grew up there, and some really cool spots. We went on this rooftop, and then we went on the street. It was a big production, but it only, similarly, there was all kinds of loopholes and stuff I can't even remember, but it's still sitting there. It's released though. I think a company, Monster Music, the cable company, brought it. And I get occasional comments like, I just saw your DVD in like Best Buy and like occasional things, but it wasn't the release that we planned for. And now, of course, I also need to sell DVD players to get it anywhere. But yeah, that's a shame. These things, they happen. They really happen.
They've actually, they were offering it to me at the time. I can't remember what it was. It was tens and tens of thousands. They were like, you can buy it. I was like, dudes, and the best about it is contractually, they're not allowed to do anything with it unless I give them the go ahead. So typical record company, they're like, well, we're going to keep it. And I was like, you'd rather go down the bin. Like, you can never in the history of time do anything with it instead of just giving it to me. And I was like, why don't we do something that if I sell X amount, you get a percentage? Like, let's do something.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, it was just like computer. It was just like dealing with a pile of accountants. It wasn't even like that's the thing that most people don't realize about record companies. The majority of record companies are all bean counters. They're all accountants. You know, they're not creatives like our end of it. All going, hey, yeah, let's try this, let's do that. They're like, but will that work? Will that sell this amount of albums? And
yeah, it's hard to find creative thinking people in that. I mean, that, you know, they say the music business is two parts, music and business, but the labels are definitely on the latter. And some of the guys that are creative, it's like they rise up. People who quote unquote have the golden ears or they have good instincts, they rise up into positions that end up, you know, not being creative at all. Yeah. You know, I think that's similar in a lot of industries where the thing that you got into it for isn't what the thing isn't the thing you end up doing. So you got to make sure, I think, in every industry that you keep your eye on what it is that moves you. But yeah, forget about it. We could have a separate podcast on labels. Are you with a label right now?
That's kind of like person whom both of us work with, David Foster. Like, I'm sure David Foster never intended of becoming the CEO of Verve.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, I've talked to him about that several times, but exactly. Great example. And he'll probably be the first to admit that, yeah, no, I'd much rather just be behind the piano and what the hell was I thinking? But he's a good example, but he's also really managed, you know, he's been pulled in a lot of directions, but in my opinion, he's managed to stay creative. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God, you know, and he's also been the head of a label, blah, 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 but at least he's you know, he's done that. But yeah, forget it. Yeah, what an interesting. When did you work with David? I forgot that. That's right.
My first album, my first solo record was with David and Joachim. Yeah.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. So I know you done a record with Joachim too. That's how I got in touch with you at the very start. Actually, that's funny. Not true.
No, I think we had a Joachim connection, but it was through a publicist in New York that I think I came to. At least I heard about you through a publicist.
What was her name? She's really cool. Janice, that publicist.
I think it was a Patty. Was it
Patty? Patty, that's right, Patty. Yeah, Patty
Conte.
Cool.
Yes, I think she told me about you.
Yeah, but
she was working with you.
My first record was with Joachim.
And
I didn't know until a long time. I don't know how. I remember Joachim actually telling me about you one time, but I don't know if it was way years later or before that. I can't remember, to be honest.
That's funny. I forgot about the Joachim connection. I've worked with him also through the years. We did a lot together. You know, he's really he's great. Are you still in touch with him?
Yeah. We message each other all the time. I was actually messaging him about the record that we done is going to be 10 years old very soon, like less than a year.
Oh wow.
And there was like 4 songs that we didn't put on. We ended up recording like 16 tracks total. And there's like 4 songs that we didn't put on the album. A song actually that David Foster and I wrote. And like they were all recorded. We recorded the strings in Abbey Road, and they're like it's not my bag now, but they're beautiful, big lush pieces of music that I was thinking about maybe doing a re-release and maybe just putting them on it for people. I mean, I'll not do anything with it. It's Verve's going to do it. Event, they own the songs regardless, but I thought it would have been a good idea.
Right.
You know?
Wow. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I can't remember. There's one of the songs we ended up doing, you know, the Highwayman, Jimmy Webb?
I don't. I like Jimmy Webb though. I love Jimmy Webb, yeah.
Jimmy Webb wrote a song.
Maybe I've heard it. I got to check it out. Highwayman, okay.
Really cool song. It's a song all about reincarnation. And the first verse, I was a highwayman along the coach roads I did ride. Then I was a dam builder. And then I was a single drop of rain. Like, it's really cool. Every verse changes what he is. But Willie Nelson and all those guys and Johnny Cash, they were a band called the Highwayman, and he named the song. It was every verse was about each one of them, and they're the ones that made it famous.
Oh, funny.
But Joachim done this arrangement on it that was like, man, it was really cool. It was like really, I think it was the best arrangement on the whole record, and it ended up not being on the album, the song. Not because it wasn't good, it's just because it didn't fit with everything else.
Yeah. He's first of all, I'm definitely going to check that song out. I'm a Jimmy Webb fan. Yeah. I gotta remind myself. Didn't he write Didn't We? You know that song, Didn't We? One of my favorite songs. You got to check out.
Check that out.
Didn't We? Didn't We is a ballad. Yeah. Beautiful. God, horrible. I mean, heartbreaking. So good. Sinatra has a good version of that, but yeah, that's a good one. But anyway, Yoakum's one of the few guys that, you know, takes his musical cues from the lyrics. So like all the things you're telling me about the raindrop or whatever, he's somebody that would, you know, let that seep in and then let the music, and that's really hard to find. A lot of people are just musical.
Yeah. There's a line in that song. It was, I was a starship, and there's like a strings, just all, the whole orchestra drops down and goes, it sounds like a spaceship taking off into the sky, man. And it's just Yoakum.
Yeah. Oh, you know, he's so good at that. And he does it tastefully, because it's like, sometimes it can become candy that other producers would overload you with. And he's always tasteful about it, but it's fun to hear. All those little things. He's really brilliant.
It was an amazing experience recording with Yoakum, because like when I used to do Celtic Thunder, like I recorded many times before Celtic Thunder, but when I used to do Celtic Thunder, we had this producer called Phil Coulter, and he's actually from my hometown, but he was that old school, you know, old school Tin Pan Alley, get the song done. Like there was no joy being in the studio with him, put it like that. You got
funny.
You got like one or two goes at the song, and that was it. And if you didn't get it right, you were getting fucking shouted at outside the booth, and you're like, this is fucking crazy. Like before I joined Celtic Thunder, I was in the studio in London, Metropolis, hanging out with Andy Wright, dear friend of mine, who was actually on the podcast, the last one I'd done. And everything was all about having a good time and laughing and joking. Like that was like, and I worked in the studio and I was like, this is what I want to do. And then I joined Celtic Thunder working with that guy, and I was like, this guy's fucking crazy.
Oh, funny.
You literally had like everything in Celtic Thunder. I don't think there's anything I got more than 2-3 takes at. Nothing. And there's like 10-15 albums there.
That's funny.
And the stress of like getting into the booth, you were like this walking into the booth.
Yeah, see, that's the worst. That's no wonder you needed a few whiskeys.
Oh, dude, you were never allowed anything like that around that guy. It was like, it was so straight laced.
Oh my god!
And like working with
that's horrible.
Oh, yeah. It's horrible. Like that is like the worst. If you're a producer, your job is to bring the best out in the person that's standing in front of you. That's your job, is to make them do their absolute best thing in that room. You know.
Of course.
He was like, this guy was,
and you got to make him just relax. That's so funny. Is he's still around?
Yeah, he's an old dude. He's an old dude. He's a, you know, sneaky old school producer. Like I wrote a song for the very first show on Celtic Thunder, and he the very first album came out, and he said that he wrote it.
Oh my god!
Like that kind of old school. These guys are mine, and I.
Oh my god!
I lost my shit, as you can imagine. Like I was 21 years old. It was a big album, man. That album was like #1 on loads of charts, and it was on that first PBS special, which was.
I remember.
It was huge, and that fucker said that he wrote it. I wrote the song when I was like 17 or 18.
Oh my god! So what happened? Did you have like a lawsuit or something?
I went to the producer of Celtic Thunder, Sharon, and I was like, and she was actually on my side, and I was like, you get this sorted before my hometown ass goes apeshit on this old dude in the studio. So
yeah, exactly.
You get this fixed, and I'll leave it at that. And then the next run of CDs came out, my name was on the song, and
thank God.
That was the kind of that guy. So I went from that, and then working with Yoakum, and Yoakum was just like, can you sing that word 400 times again? And
the opposite. He's so funny.
And I would sing it, and he'd be like, okay, that's great, but can you make that you sound more like a you? And I'd be like, all right. And I'd sing you again, and he'd be like, yeah, that's
so
great.
Funny.
Can you sing
David
with more of a you at the start? And I'd be like, okay.
Man, I have email exchanges from me and Yoakum, but from God knows what hours in the night, of like, just like the can you raise like 2K on the cymbal hit right before the end, right before, like, underneath the piano, but make it like a whole 3, like a book. And I was, you know, I joined him in that party, and it was so that album East of Angeltown became, at one point David Foster was like, hey guys, just let me know when it's done, because this is ridiculous. But yeah, we enjoyed that very much. I thought every detail was worth it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's tricky. That's another balance. Yeah.
My vocals on that record are the best that I have ever sounded recording wise. Like I don't have, it's not that I don't have the patience. I just don't want to spend that length of time ever again doing vocals.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting, because on the one hand, the devil is in the details. 100%. And then on the other hand, it's kind of like what David Foster would say is like, oh, okay, now it's going to be a hit because you raised the bass in that one bar 2 dB, which is obviously ridiculous. So, you got to find the balance. I've definitely gotten better through the years of finding that, that balance. I work with a guy, John Fields. John Fields?
Maybe.
Really talented producer, instrumentalist, originally from Minneapolis, I believe. It was in LA. We made a record of mine together, Metropolis, but working with him was kind of like the other extreme, because there was a certain carelessness. He was very attentive, very talented, but he created an environment of, it was just loose and almost a little reckless, the way it was like, just play it. Like the minute I would start thinking about something, he would just press record. And it was good, because it was like, we captured shit that I wouldn't have been able to replicate if I had worked it through. So finding that, I think after that, when I finally produced my own record, I really tried to create something that was in the middle. And I think it is. And that also involved like me being alone and me having a couple drinks before a piano solo and not having anyone around, like what I talked about earlier. But yeah, it's a dance. It's a constant dance.
Yeah, I've realized that within reason, you have to, like you're saying, the middle ground. But I've realized now when I'm doing a record, that one thing that'll annoy you, like the 2 dB on the hi-hat, or whatever it is at the time, you're like, oh, I have to get that fixed. No one is ever, that really is never going to make any fucking difference.
Exactly.
Ever to the record. Like it's, I haven't heard one of my albums to date and been like, I love everything in that record. I love every piece. No,
that's a good point.
I don't love them, but I don't like go into every line of bass and drums and guitar and go, that's perfect. That's perfect. Take off.
No, of course. Yeah.
And I've realized no matter how much you stress, it doesn't really matter in the long run.
Exactly. I mean, again, back to technology, it gives you obviously endless control, endless access to fix anything. And then you think about those old school guys with the classic records where there's tons of mistakes, and they did have that pressure with the recording line. I was like, shit, we got like only this amount of tape and we got like 20 minutes to make, 4 songs. Let's just do it. And they did it. And there's some of the most iconic recordings. Even if you listen to some of the Beatles tracks or the Stevie Wonder tracks, a friend of mine had his stems. I don't know if you ever heard the individual stems, but there's all kinds of things that would normally be cleaned up, and I'm so glad that they're not.
I mean, but then again, a lot of those bands back then, the reason why they were as great as they were is because they were that good. They were that good. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like I've some friends in LA and a few different places, and they're quite a bit younger than myself, and they're really cool bands. But then again, when you sit with them all on a one-on-one and you're having a jam or whatever, they're like, they're not all great players. They just somehow have found that combination that makes a cool sound for them. But like when you sit down and actually be a musician,
totally
play whatever, like none of them can really. And I'm not knocking them. It's a different era of music. Do you know what I mean?
It's a different skill too. I mean, they could be an amazing part of a group. They could be a key part of a group. They could be, but maybe in that particular setting, 3, that combination is the magic. And other guys are just awesome players, and it's really a whole world of different talents that people bring. But yeah, it's different. I know exactly what you're saying.
An old guitar player of mine, he was like Dave Bakey was like one of the most. Now he does all his own solo stuff, and it's all the tapping like Andy McKee. He makes Andy McKee look like he can't play guitar. This guy, and Andy McKee's off the charts. Like, and he's just
wow.
but it's so intense and so like mathematical that it's just like your brain, you have to like sit and concentrate watching it, going like, how is this even coming out of a guitar right now?
Oh, funny.
And Dave used to play with me, and he's the best guitar player, like you know, doing all that stuff, but also a fantastic guitar player. And I'd be like, dude, can you just like play that one note like Neil Young for like 12 bars? Like, literally like that. And Dave would just be looking at me like going, why? Like, I don't understand. Like does not compute. Like, he just doesn't get that side of music. And I'm like, this is never.
Yeah, some guys are like that. There's almost too much virtuosity. Depends.
Yeah, but you're like at the keys. You can shred on the keys.
Oh, thanks, Keith. Thanks. I don't know. I always had it's funny. I had these two things in me for a long time. When I was growing up in the city, I would want to play, you know, I had that streak where I just want to play like the guys I admired, or if I saw a guy in a club, or I would sit and transcribe solos. And that's how I learned so much. And then the other part of me, while I was developing that, ever since I was like 9 years old, I just loved really simple pop music. My songs when I was like 9, 10, 11, everything that came out of me when I wrote was the simplest, almost, you know, Celine Dion type pop, while I'm analyzing like Bill Evans. So there were these two things that were developing in me separately, and I've always kind of been on a quest to combine them. You know, I think every album I get a little closer and closer to combining those two like aesthetics, but anyway, yeah, they're different
like a Bruce
things.
Hornsby kind of vibe. Bruce Hornsby was kind of that same sort of, you know.
Oh, interesting.
He was, when you think about it, you know, you watch Bruce Hornsby doing his own solo shows, he might be doing like that's just the way it is. No, with a simple, like that's not simple, but like a pop kind of idea, and then he like change it into like something. Fuck, you ever watch him doing his own solo shows on the piano?
A couple of clips I've seen. I've never seen him live though.
Like he'll do like the simplest of things and then just go dark, like really
funny
dark and solo, and then back into like a pop song. But like there's no like gel. His is like black and white.
It's hard to find guys like that. It's hard to see, like when I would love certain elements of certain people. Like I would love Billy Joel songs, but I really wouldn't like his solos. Like I didn't like the way he soloed over his own songs, or like I would take some like the songwriting, but I love, you know, the way Oscar Peterson solos. I know they're different forms, but I never understood why they're mutually exclusive. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's very hard to find guys that live in those in that invisible area, really between any genre, because it's all music and there's so much connective tissue between what you do and what I do, even though they seem like they're in different worlds, you know?
100%. There's artists that I listen to as well. Like there's this one guy from England. He's called Richard Thompson, and he writes these songs, man, that are like, they're like Steven Spielberg movies. The stories in these songs are like something that you're there with these songs. You're part of these stories. Like there's a song I cover of his called Beeswing, and it's about this young guy who ends up moving to a city. Sounds like a movie, like it's about a young guy who moves to a city.
Yeah.
He ends up working in a sweatshop cleaning laundry, and he meets the girl next to him, and they fall in love, and they go traveling in a gypsy caravan, and they sell trinkets that they make. And they break up, and she ends up becoming an alcoholic in the street. And the whole time he's still saying that he'd rather love her than anything else in the world. That's the chorus every time, you know. But he writes these stories, man, that are just like, he's got another song, Vincent Black Lightning, which is Vincent Black Lightning's a Norton motorcycle, and it's a really famous motorcycle. And this song is about a guy who's a badass in England who is a thug, basically. And he meets this girl with red hair and black leather, and he falls for her like that. And basically the way he get his Vincent Black Lightning was they steal things and he rob people. And he robbed the bank and gets killed whilst robbing the bank. And on his deathbed, he hands this chick the keys to his Vincent Black Lightning, and that's how much he loves this chick. But this guy writes these songs, man, and
that's like a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Oh, I mean, like, fucking amazing, but his voice really annoys me. Like his voice to me is like, and I love the guy's music. And if I ever meet him, I hope he never hears that. But like, I'm being honest. Like his voice to me is just like I don't get it, you know. But he writes these songs and his guitar playing is like no one else do. But you're right, it is very hard to find the whole thing put together.
Yeah, send me when we're done, send me that guy's link. I want to check. Send me something on him because I like that kind of stuff. It reminds me some of like early Bob Dylan stuff where he sounds like crazy but he's telling you this great story. But yeah, interesting. I'd love to check him out.
Did you ever get into Bob Dylan? It's funny, I never got into him, but did you ever get into him?
I did. I don't love everything, but I did get into him depending on what album. But at one point on the road, I forget where, something really started to seep into me with him, his early records. And I found him inspiring because he covered like it sounds like this guy, just so he takes you from A to Z, not A to B, you know. And I found it inspiring as a lyric writer to like, wow, you can write about that, or look at the way he told that story, or, you know. And then sometimes he just shows you what he can do in a different way, like that song "To Make You Feel My Love." I don't know if you know that song. Yeah. It's amazing that to me that he wrote that. It's like he every few songs he just drops one of those in to let you know he can do it. You know, like a classic, timeless kind of song that still has
There's another one kind of like. You ever listen to "Lay Lady Lay"?
Exactly. I love that stuff. I love all those kind of songs. "Lay Lady Lay" is great. I also love a recent song he did called "Things Have Changed." You know that song?
No.
Oh, it's great. It was in a movie. I forget what movie. But "Things Have Changed" is awesome too. A girl with assassin's eyes, I think is the first lyric. Something, but it's so good.
Yeah, I managed to catch him at that concert. Do you remember they done the concert about 5 years ago in out in Joshua Tree direction? It was called Desert Trip. And on the Friday night it was Bob Dylan, and Friday night was Bob Dylan and the Rolling Stones. That's the only two bands that played, and they done like 2-hour sets each. The Saturday night was Paul McCartney and Neil Young, and the Sunday night was Roger Waters and The Who. And that dude, it was
that's a awesome. Hell of a lineup.
It was awesome, but to be honest with you, I felt that Neil Young was like he seemed to like the Rolling Stones were awesome. It was amazing seeing the Rolling Stones. Keith Richards was walking out onto the stage, and Ronnie Wood tripped them. They were like two children walking out onto the stage, like still at that age, still.
Isn't that amazing?
And the big screen was on them, you know. And this was like this huge. We had really good seats. We wangled these tickets, whatever. And like they tripped one another walking on the stage, and they're fucking like two children, like two teenagers.
Oh my God.
And Keith Richards looks up at the crowd, and this is all on screen. He doesn't know the camera's on him. He's fucking Keith Richards. He doesn't even know where he is.
Yeah, right. Doesn't know where he is.
And he turns around to Ronnie Wood, and he's like, "What? Like, look, fucking, like, look at what we're playing." He's like, starts to like laugh like a kid, and I was like, "This is so amazing!" Like, to see guys who've done it for this long still have that thing.
Well, I think it's because they get the blood transfusions.
That's right. Did you hear that?
I did.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't either. I mean, no wonder they're all so fresh. They look great.
Like, how did they do it? Like, how do you get that pickled and still keep going?
No, it's amazing. And Mick still moves real good. He really is unbelievable. They're all, yeah.
They're old. But they were great that night. But Bob Dylan played before them, and poor Bob Dylan, man, he's like, it was awesome to see him. But like, I have to admit, every song, his voice is so gone, you know. Every song is not the same.
What year is that? When was that?
Desert Trip.
Like 5 years?
4 or 5 years ago,
Yeah. I saw him once. I might have been maybe around that time at the Garden Yeah, no, it's I guess like you said, you don't see him because you're going to see Pavarotti. It's just not about that. But yeah, it's cool to have seen him. That's for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Neil
Young was amazing. Neil Young, like he was like a kid in a candy shop too.
Oh, was he?
Paul McCartney was very blasé about it. For watching Paul McCartney, I was really like I was a massive Beatles fan growing up, and like it's one of the first songs I ever learned on the guitar was a Beatles tune. But like seeing Paul McCartney was very like, it was almost like it was his 100th show on a tour, and he was just doing it and getting her done and getting out.
Yeah, that's a shame when that happens. When you see that happen, yeah.
I mean, we've all been there,
I know. I could only imagine. But yeah, you have good nights and bad nights. I mean, some nights you don't want to do it, and you gotta pretend you do.
Yeah.
But there are also nights where you go out there and you don't want to do it, and then you suddenly want to do it. Like it actually changes your state of mind, which is the power of it all, It's like fake it till you make it.
Isn't it funny when you're playing a show, all it takes is one note or something, or on the keys or something on the guitar to do something. It could be the same thing you heard every night for
right.
For a half, but for some reason that night the glass breaks and it's like, fuck me,
yes.
Listen to that,
Yes. No, it's really, it's like an argument to just keep going forward with no matter what, because you never know what happened. Same is true with the reverse though. I mean, there are things where like, oh man, we just fell into that hole as a band. And then like, all right, then you work to try to get out of that and get that good note to inspire you again. But it's alive, it's alive. I guess the beauty of it.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite tour you ever done?
That's a really good question. I think back sometimes the strangest, most insignificant memories come back to me that are somehow still in my brain because most of it is a blur. And I'm like, so many times, like, why did I remember that show? Like, why do I remember that? It was not a spectacular show, but like, I remember the details of that show. It's weird when you're in so many places, as you know, over a condensed amount of time. It's all like one blur with spikes of clarity. But I don't know. I've had so many. I don't know what the hell was good. There's ups and downs. There was a nice tour when I first started. I think it was like, I remember seeing 3 days off in Monaco on one of the tour schedules. And that was the highlight of the tour because we had 3 days off in Monaco. I judge the success of my tours on how many days off we have. It's like four days off in the south of Italy. That's great. My agent should be fired, but I'm happy.
Dude, I had a good gig in Monaco about 3-4 years ago. My friend Glenn Stearns, shout out to Glenn, he was on this podcast too. Glenn has a big fancy yacht. He's actually sold it since, and he had a 200-foot yacht. And he phones me up. He's like, yo, do you want to go to the Grand Prix in Monaco? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to go to the Grand Prix in Monaco. We get there, and Glenn, do you know where the straight is? You know that big straight?
Yes.
Glenn somehow managed to kick off Jimmy John Sandwich's boat off his slip. And I don't know, whatever he paid to get it on there. And Glenn got his boat right there in the middle of the slip or the straight for the Grand Prix. And they invited out this DJ, a guy called Ravi, DJ Ravi. He's an Indian dude, lives in LA. Okay. And he's got a drum kit made by NASA. It was as much shows as there was playing. Like, it was this like circular, huge drum kit, and everything lights up.
My God.
So my friend Glenn, man, he's very wealthy, but he loves people around him and loves having a good time. He's a good soul, he really is. And so they had this drum kit on the back of the boat, and the helicopter going to the top of the drum kit, and like fucking going past and stuff like that. And the Prince and Princess of Monaco, who's friends with Glenn, they decided to climb on the boat in Monaco, and apparently they were big fans of the Eagles. And Glenn was like, of course, like Glenn always, even though we actually met at a David Foster event. That's where I met Glenn. And even though Glenn, we're good friends, he always wants me to play at all his parties that I go to, but he invites all these musicians and lets them bring their gear and lets them bring their bands, you know, and all their own equipment. And like the fucking Princess of Monaco was there, and Glenn's like, go up and play a song. I'm like, dude, fucking, what do you want me to play a drum solo? What? Like, oh, I'm going to play a song. And then like he pulls out this guitar with 5 strings and he plugs it into a PA system, and somebody hands me a guitar and I'm like, this is fun.
Oh my God. That's funny.
And I played an Eagles song, and the Princess of Monaco ended up climbing on the stage and giving me a big kiss in front of everybody.
Oh my God. That's an awesome memory.
The next day they invited us up to the palace, and we were queuing up. It was like, dude, it was like the mafiosa. All the people queuing up looked like out of something out of the movies. Like it was
I'm
really
sure.
funny. You know, all the sunglasses and the really good suits on them. Like everybody was perfect. And
wow.
You know, I had like hair down to here and big round sunglasses on. And we were queuing up, and I lost my friend Glenn. So Kelsey and I was there, and Glenn does all these kind of super, like, you know, royal events quite often. And I was like, what do we do? Do we curtsy? Do I kiss her hand when we get up to the, because the prince and princess were at the gates literally greeting people as they came into the palace. And we lost Glenn, and me and Kelsey are like fucking standing there, like walking up, and everybody else is like, you know, like bowing down to them like this. And we get up, and the prince and princess are like, hey, what's happening? Like, fuck, you guys are so good last night playing music. And they like hugged us and kissed us. And everybody was like, who the fuck's this guy?
Oh my God. That's an awesome memory.
Yeah, wow. That was a good memory.
That's really cool. I've had a few, man, Jesus, that's a whole other world, Monaco. Monaco is a whole other planet.
It's just, there's another world out there that no one knows about.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's another world out there that until you're a fly in the wall and experience that amount of wealth and these different experiences that a portion of this planet experiences, it's too hard to explain.
Yeah, and there's probably another world beyond that world too. It's probably like the point, you know, there's probably 10 people that rule the world and we don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Scary stuff. So when do you come back to New York at any time soon, once you're allowed to travel, or where do you live after a Portugal adventure?
Dude, we don't know what to do. I mean, our business is in Ireland. I own a recording studio in Ireland, and we own that wedding and event space in Ireland.
Right.
And the whole lot's under lock and key right now.
Once that opens up, do you have to be there for those?
Once it opens
the maintenance
up,
of it all.
Yeah, because we spent the last 4 or 5 years building it, and we only opened in February last year, and we had to close in March, so it was a weird time.
Yeah, no, that is.
You know, so we'll have to be there whenever it opens up again. But in saying that, nobody's really booking anywhere at the minute. It's kind of crazy. You know?
Right. It's just holding pattern.
Everybody's kind of going like, what's the point in booking if they're going to cancel it again? Last year, once there was a date for people to book, everyone started booking. But this year, I think it's kind of like the same as ourselves, booking a tour. Nobody wants to do it. They're just like, it's probably not going to happen. So what's the point? So we're contemplating going back to the States for a while, because we didn't intend to be in Europe this long. I mean, I still have a big Sprinter van sitting at my father-in-law's house. We've got a container full of our stuff. We still have Kelsey's cars parked at my friend's driveway in Los Angeles. I've been paying a bill on it for the last 2 years.
Wow.
So we still have our life in the States right now, but we just need, so we're thinking about taking this time over the next few months that our place in Ireland's going to be locked down, and flying back within all the restriction rules, obviously, and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
And flying back,
interesting.
After it, you know, and then to Ireland and opening up the. But again, then again, we don't know.
Once they open up again, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to make any kind of plan. It really is.
It's crazy.
It's hard to make any kind of plan.
You know.
Yeah, it's insane. I cannot believe it's a year. It's basically been in this for a year. It's insane.
New York was actually the first show that I canceled.
Was it?
Supposed to be in New York the next day after I was playing in Boston, and then it was supposed to be New York the next day.
Oh, funny. That's the March. Was around March, was it?
Yeah, like March like if the day before Paddy's Day or something like that. I can't remember.
Oh, wow. Wow. No. Well, hopefully we'll cross paths at some point.
I hope so.
Soon. I mean, you know, maybe work together, maybe try something out. I don't know. It's funny. We got a few 6 degrees of separation. So
big time. I actually have a song that you would fucking crush on the keys, and it's a piano song, because I write songs on the piano, but I would never sit down and play piano in front of anybody. And I'm not one of those people who just say that. I'm like, I really fucking can't play the piano. If I could play it in front of someone, I would play it in front of someone. But like, you know, I find with the piano, there's chord progressions there that I'll never hear on a guitar. That's the beauty of the piano, you know?
Funny. That's how I feel about the guitar.
Really?
Totally. Yeah. No, I could hold it. That's about it.
There you go.
But yeah, send me the song. Send it over.
Yeah, well, there's a song I think you would really listen to, that New York song today. I was like, fuck, that song he would really enjoy. Well, cool, you, man. I'm set up right now. I'm about to do a live show on Stage It right now in a half hour.
Oh shit. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
How do you tune? How do people tune into that, by the way?
They just go to, are you on Stage It?
I actually don't think I am, no.
Right. I'll have to get you hooked up. I work with the company now. I've been doing Stage It for 6 years. Luckily enough, wow. I was doing it well prior to the pandemic. Because I always.
And you enjoy it?
I don't enjoy it. I'm not going to lie. I don't enjoy it as much as playing in a room with my band and an audience applauding you and telling you that you're great.
Yes, of course.
You know, there is that really weird vacancy when you finish a song and you're in it in your head and you finish, and I'm just staring at the camera. You know.
No, I know. I've done a few online concerts. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
But, what do people buy tickets for it?
Yeah. So what you do is that's the beauty of Stage It. You basically sell tickets, promote it like a regular show, and then with Stage It, as opposed to other platforms, they have a thing down below where people can tip. They also put your merchandise down below. They're creating something in the future with merch, basically they are the merch person as well. So you don't have to even have your own merch or sell it from yourself.
That's great.
Stage It do take a cut. A lot of other companies have approached me over the last year or so, you know, asking would I go to them, and they would give you 100%. But the thing is, I feel with Stage It is they're in it for the long game. For example, just before Christmas, they had my advertisement up in Times Square at the NASDAQ building for my Christmas special online show. Like they'll spend money for advertisements and stuff like that, you know.
So that's awesome. Yeah, send me the link. Send me that stuff. I'll check it out.
I'm on the artist advisory board now, and like I have no doubt. Well, after this pandemic, it ain't going away. You know.
Yeah, no, it was there before as well. I've heard of it. I think we almost did something together, but it never happened. But yeah, and I'd love to see one of yours. How often do you play?
I do one every Sunday.
Oh, awesome.
And then this week, a load of fans are asking would I do a midweek one, because some people works on a Sunday.
All right.
I'm doing one tonight. I can send you a link if you're bored. You can watch it if you're not.
Send me a link when we get off. I'll check it out.
But have you anything else you want to mention or promote or anything like that you have coming up?
Yeah, no, I do. I'm working on the record. That'll be out when it'll be out. God knows when. People could check out Heart of the City, which is my latest release, and they could join me.
That link.
Thank you. And they could join me every Friday. I do this live stream. I think you mentioned that's how you noticed on Instagram. It's every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern for a Friday Feeling with Peter. So I just make a drink, I'll talk. I have some fans join. David Foster actually joined a few weeks ago. So cool. Random guests, and I play a few songs. It's very casual. It's like a half hour every Friday night on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. 100%.
So that's it, man.
Well, Peter,
but it's awesome to connect with you, Keith. Likewise, a real pleasure. Hopefully we'll do this over a drink in person.
I would absolutely love that.
I would too.
Thank you so much, my friend, and stay safe out there in this crazy world.
Thank you, Keith. Good luck with everything.
All right, man.
All your travels.
Peace. See you later.